Okay, so we've just been talking about how you check ropes, how you store them properly, and what kind of ropes to choose for forest school. We're now going to have a quick look at how to set up a rope swing safely. So for that we have a tree, and the tree in question is an oak tree. The beauty of oak is that it's really strong, and even if the boughs are kind of have problems in, obviously we don't want to put a rope over a bough that does, but if there's something we couldn't see and it had a problem, then the likelihood is actually it will still hold together even if it's really rotten through. So we're going to find ourselves a decent bough. I'm going for something that's got some serious size to it to make sure that it's going to be nice and safe. And the first thing we're going to do is lob the rope over. Now to do that, what I'm going to do is get my rope. Here I'm using a kern mantle. This is a 10mm kern mantle rope. I'm going to get my kern mantle rope and I'm going to coil it up into my hands. I can actually check it as I go. I'm feeling the rope as I go through, and I can check it as I'm coiling it. Coil it into my hands until I've got a decent sized coil. Now at this point what I can do is make myself a little kind of throwing hook like this for lobbing it up and through the tree. I'm actually going to stick to just holding on to the loop like this. When you throw it, to avoid it going behind you, you're going to point and finish pointing at the bough that you're going to try and throw it over. So you're going to get a good swing, underarm throw, and finish pointing at exactly where I want it to go. We'll see if it works. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do, just got the rope over the bough, is I'm going to check it. So obviously I don't want to stand underneath the bough and pull it. If it's gone over any dry twigs or bits and pieces, or as I've thrown it up it might have dislodged other bits and pieces, the bough itself might be moving around, there might be dead wood sitting on that, so I don't want to pull it and have that fall on my head. So what I'm going to do is move to the side and give the rope a good pull. I'm going to check that the bough is nice and sturdy, it's not moving around a lot, and obviously make sure that there's not going to be anything falling off. What I don't want to do is make a rope swing, have kids swinging on it, and then find that there's things raining down on them as they're going. So making sure that's really nice and safe from above. If you're in any doubt about that, then just go and find yourself another tree. Okay, now when it comes to tying on the end of the rope and what you do with this end of the rope, so just to be clear, the rope has now gone up and back down over the bough. Both these ends are loose. I can pull the rope backwards and forwards. I obviously don't want that to happen. If I tried making some kind of knot and leaving it up here, the problem with that is that that knot's going to get very tight, very difficult to undo, and potentially if it goes out of reach, then I get to a situation where I'm not able to check my rope again because it's already disappeared. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to tie off this end so we've got something that the children can use, and then I'm going to put this end and tie this to another tree, a nice strong tree, and that's going to keep that out of the way, and also mean that I can then adjust the height of this if I need to, if I've got it slightly wrong while I've been going. So to start off with, all I'm going to do is get a bite of rope like this, so it's gone back into my hands, and I can just do an overhand knot, make a loop, put the end through the loop, pull that tight, overhand knot on the bite, make sure it's nice and tidy because it'll be easier to undo when it is, and I've got myself a little stirrup that I can put down there. Now obviously what I don't want to do is put that at any height where kids can get themselves jammed in it, so I'm keeping that down nice and low, and that's going to be stirrup height. They can then hold on to the rope as they go. Now the problem with having a stirrup is, especially for little people, trying to get their foot into it and balance on one leg it's hard enough just putting your shoes on, let alone having your foot tied to something, so they're going to need to have quite a lot of help being put into it. Also, if they let go, then their foot's still tied to it and you've got problems. So what I prefer to do, if I can find it, is to put a T-piece in there. And the way I do that is keeping my loop there. I'm going to do what's called lark's footing the rope. So I'm just going to bend it like this. This is not a clove hitch, because a clove hitch won't sit quite right. So I'm making a lark's foot, I don't know if you can see that. Lark's foot bending like that, closing the two together and putting my stick in between here. Now what I can do is adjust that knot, just slide it down the rope a little bit so it comes up and just butts up to there. That stops that from coming loose. And now I've got myself a decent seat. Obviously making sure that whatever the stick log I'm using for here is going to be strong enough, and then bearing in mind safety wise, you now don't want kids throwing that and hitting each other in the head. So I'm going to gauge the height of this. Now, as I said before in a recent video, this one here is a dynamic rope, which means that it's got some stretch to it. So I need to account for the stretch and have the seat a little bit higher, hanging a little bit higher than I want it, so that as they put their weight onto it, it's going to sink down to the right level. So that's going to go on there, and then I'm just going to tie this to this tree. Okay, so I've got myself a decent tree here that I'm going to tie it around. Again, I need to check this tree, check the canopy, make sure there's no dead fall. I don't want to find that the tree's being pushed around and the canopy's shaking and dropping a whole load of dead wood on us. So making sure that's being looked after properly, making sure that it's strong enough. There's no point in tying to a dead tree that's just going to snap out of the ground. That's obviously going to cause you some serious problems. So this is a happy, healthy tree. I'm going to tie down nice and low because I don't want to put too much leverage on here. And for the minute, all I'm going to do is go round. Normally we do a round turn and 2 half hitches, but because I'm making a rope swing and I want to be super careful, I might do a good few round turns. Now, because I need to make sure that I'm adjusting it, I don't want to put 10 round turns around the tree and then find that I need to undo it all again to adjust it. So I can hold this here, I can get somebody else to just check the height there. If I've got a helper or whatever, they can give me a hand, or if there's enough rope, then I can walk over and I can test it while still holding on to it before I tie it off. Make sure I get the height right. So I'm happy I've got the height right, and now what I'm going to do, if I want to do another couple of round turns, I can do, because it won't hurt. That's going to put more friction around the tree, which is going to mean that it's going to be reliant less on whatever knots I tie here. And I'm just going to do some half hitches. So I'm going to go over the top and through, pull that nice and tight, do that again, over the top and through, pull that nice and tight. Now, normally you do a round turn and 2 half hitches. I think I've done 4 round turns, there you go, and 5 half hitches, just because I means I can sleep better when in fact, no, I shouldn't be going to sleep, should I? Yeah, good point, Joe. Don't go to sleep. It just means that I feel more comfortable with the way that it's put up. I haven't got to keep coming back here and checking it every 5 minutes to make sure that it's not come untied. I know that that's not going anywhere. And there you go. I've got an easy to make rope swing. It's easily set up, it's easily adjustable, and it means at the end of the day I can take it down, I can check my rope before I think about putting it up again. Hope that helps.